Il y a 2 ans, nous disions jamais on n'enverra de chars. On l'a fait. Il y a 2 ans, on disait jamais nous n'enverrons de missiles de moyenne portée. On l'a fait. Mais on disait jamais on enverra d'avions. Certains sont en train de le faire. Donc, nous avons mis trop de limites, si je puis dire, dans notre vocabulaire. Nous ne sommes pas dans l'escalade. Nous ne sommes pas en guerre contre la Russie. Simplement, il faut être clair, nous ne devons pas laisser la Russie gagner.
Mais les Français.
This is my video update on this Friday, midday, March the 15th. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Emmanuel Macron and his 30-minute TV interview yesterday evening. I thought this was going to be a speech from Macron as president of France to the French people, but it actually was a 30-minute interview conducted with French media. And what an interview it was. So sad to see the president of France look so weak. It really was sad to see Macron looking so weak. Entertaining as well. At times it was entertaining to see Macron in a panic. But boy, did he look weak. He looked very, very weak. There were times during this interview where I actually thought that Macron was going to break down in tears. I actually thought that Macron was going to break down in tears during some of the parts of this interview. I'm the French president. I decide. I'm French president. Russia must not win. Russia must not win. Boy, it was sad. Candace, leave me alone. Please, Candace, why are you doing this to me? Leave me alone. He didn't say that. He didn't mention Candace. But you know it was on his mind. You know it was on his mind. Oh, boy. So Macron was trying to sell this concept of strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity. That is what Macron is trying to sell to the French people, even Politico, covering this 30-minute interview. They said that Macron's goal was to sell the French people on his plan of strategic ambiguity with Russia and the conflict in Ukraine. What strategic ambiguity are you trying to sell, Macron? Strategic stupidity? Yeah, I could see that. Strategic ambiguity? Not so much. Not so much. How is it ambiguity? How is it strategic ambiguity when Macron is telling the world that if Russia continues to win, this is what Macron said, if Russia continues to win, then we're going to send French troops to Odessa. Ambiguity, yeah, that's some strategic ambiguity right there. But according to Macron, we're not going to be leading the charge. We're going to wait for others, and then we'll send the French troops into Odessa. The United States. We're going to wait for the United States to put boots on the ground in Ukraine, then we'll follow. Then we'll jump in and also take part in this conflict. But we're not going to lead the charge. That's what Macron said. It was so sad watching Macron during this 30-minute interview. Very, very sad. He said that this conflict in Ukraine is existential. That is what Macron said. It's existential for France. How is it existential for France, Emmanuel Macron? Please explain. Please explain how the conflict in Ukraine is existential for the country, the nation of France, for the French people. How is it existential? Does France have some sort of cultural, historical, language, religious tie to Ukraine? No. Does it share a border with Ukraine? No. Is Ukraine in the European Union? Is it an EU member state? No. Is Ukraine a member of NATO? No. How is this existential for France? Don't know. Don't care, as the critical drinker says. He stopped short of calling Russia an enemy. He said it's an adversary, but he didn't say an enemy. Oh, man. You know, I would have more respect for Macron. I think the entire world would have had more respect for Macron if he just came out, as crazy as it would be. People would say, this guy's nuts. This guy's crazy. Which way do you think I should go? I say this way. I think everyone would have more respect for Macron if he had just come out and said, we're sending French troops into Ukraine. As a matter of fact, they're on their way right now. And we're going to fight the Russians. I think even the Russians would have more respect for Macron. They would say, this guy's crazy and we're going to annihilate the French troops in about 2 hours. But at least you could respect the guy. At least you could say, okay, he made a decision. He made a decision and he's talking tough and he's acting tough. Yes, France is going to get crushed by the Russian military, but at least he acted with some cojones, you know? But he was just wishy-washy, flip-flopping all over the place. Russia must not win. Russia cannot win. But we're not going to be the first country to jump into this conflict. We're going to wait for others to get involved. And Russia's not the enemy. They're an adversary, but they're not the enemy. He revealed his anger, or maybe I should say jealousy. He revealed his jealousy towards Putin. I think that definitely came through in the way he was speaking about Putin. And he basically said that this whole Project Ukraine was and still is about regime change in Russia. He said, I'm absolutely ready for discussions at any time, but we need someone sincere and peace-oriented to do that, Macron said, adding that he hoped that the time would come one day to negotiate with the Russian president, whoever it might be. Anyone but Putin. Anyone but Putin. Putin must not win. Putin must not win. I'll talk to anybody but Putin. You know that Macron is absolutely jealous, envious, jealous of Putin because Putin is respected. And when Putin makes decision, he makes decision. And Putin doesn't telegraph his next moves like Macron telegraphs his next moves. We're going to send troops into Odessa if Russia continues to win. Just like the super-duper counteroffensive that they were talking about for 6 months before they launched it. We have a super secret spring offensive that we're cooking up. But it's super secret. And we're not going to tell you what that spring counteroffensive is. But yeah, we're gonna move through the south towards Tokmak, Melitopol, get to the Sea of Azov, and fire off long-range missiles into Crimea, and that will bring Putin to the negotiating table, and he will capitulate. But it's a super secret counteroffensive. It's strategic ambiguity. That's basically what Macron is saying. As Russia continues to win, we're going to send French troops into Odessa. Why Odessa? Don't know. Don't care. Odessa, it sounds nice. It sounds nice. French troops in Odessa. We've been here before, right? 100 or 100 plus years ago. We've done this before, and we were pushed out of Russia. But let's give it another shot. Yeah. So he's like, we're ready to negotiate with anyone but Putin. We won't negotiate with Putin. How about Medvedev, Macron? Are you ready to negotiate with Medvedev? Would you prefer sitting across the table from Dmitry Medvedev? It's all about regime change. He's still hoping. Macron is still hoping that somehow, some way, there's going to be some regime change, and And I don't know, Yolanda Navalny will become president of Russia. That's what Macron is hoping. Keep hoping, bro. Keep hoping. And then he revealed that that Trump's not going to win the election in 2024. How about that statement from Macron? As far as I'm informed, I don't think Donald Trump will become president of the United States, Macron claimed. As far as I am informed. Who informed you, Macron? Who gave you this information that Trump is not going to be president of the U.S., Macron? Who gave you this information? Are you making this up, or is someone telling you this? You know, he's scared to death of Trump becoming president in 2024. He's absolutely scared to death of a Trump presidency. And he said it during this interview. Someone told him, someone informed him, you know, Trump's not going to win in 2024. You know, I don't know, someone told me, you know, so I've been informed by someone, and that someone told me, don't worry, Trump is not going to become president of the United States in 2024. This is the French president telling the American people that he's been informed that Trump's not going to win the election. So don't worry about all of the NATO talk and no money to Ukraine and all of this stuff that Trump has been going on and on about. Don't worry about it, because someone told me Trump ain't winning. That's what he said. That is what he said. He lied about the Minsk deal. He's like, you know, we've tried to negotiate with Russia in the past with the Minsk deal, but, you know, Russia didn't hold up their end of the bargain. Macron, why are you lying like that, man? Why are you lying like that? Macron said that Europe is going to build military factories and workshops in Ukraine. All of Europe is going to build factories, facilities in Ukraine to make weapons. And the strategy is that by building the weapons in Ukraine, it's going to speed up the military assistance. And French engineers, they're going to actually be stationed in Ukraine full time to oversee the building of these factories and the production of these weapons. That's a fantastic plan, Emmanuel Macron. That's a fantastic plan, because Russia's not going to target these facilities. No, they're not going to hunt down the location of these facilities and send a couple of Iskanders smack right into these facilities with your French engineers. No, that's not going to happen. No way. No. Why would Russia do that? It's not going to happen. It's a great plan from Macron and from all of Europe. Let's build those military facilities in Ukraine, and that's going to speed up the production of weapons. So then the reporters, they asked Macron, well, you know, France only produces 100 shells a day in France. So how is all of this going to work? How is all of this military production facility in Ukraine thing going to work when inside of France we only produce about 100 shells a day? And Macron was like, yeah, you know, our defense industry is not adapted to a high intensity conflict. That does not appear in any of our projections. And and Macron recalled how he ordered defense companies in France to ramp up production. I told the production facilities in France, ramp up productions. 100 shells is not sufficient. We need to produce 150 shells a day. So France produces 100 shells a day inside of France, but they're going to build factories in Ukraine to speed up military assistance and to crank out thousands, millions of shells a year. Yeah, sounds like a solid plan from Macron. Even the reporters called him out on this. They're like, what are you talking about? France produces 100 shells a freaking day. Ukraine goes through that in a matter of minutes. How are you going to pull all of this off, President Macron? Oh boy. So yeah, that was the interview. Let's see. Let me pull up some quotes here from Macron. Get it in his words, not my words. He said, Europe must be ready for war if it wants peace. Europe must be ready for war if it wants peace. More war equals more peace, according to Macron. French intervention in Ukraine cannot be ruled out, and France will do everything to prevent Russia from winning. There is no danger of war. There is war. Russia's victory in the war in Ukraine represents an existential threat to Europe and France. People who are against sending French troops in Ukraine are against our sovereignty and for defeat. It's an existential threat for France. The conflict in Ukraine is existential for the people of France, for the country of France, because of the deep cultural, historical, religious, societal ties between Ukraine, which is over there, and France, which is over there. It's existential. It is absolutely existential. Boy, Macron, he really has put France in a really big mess. He's really dug a big hole for France when it comes to Project Ukraine, and he doesn't know how to get out of it. He has no clue how to get out of it. And of course, he's trying to distract. He's definitely trying to distract away from various domestic, societal problems that he has going on. He said, we negotiated as much as we could, but there is nothing to talk about with Putin anymore. Ukraine must win. There will be no red lines for France. I'm president of France. I decide. I decide. Remember George W. Bush? I'm the decider. I'm the decider. Macron is saying, I'm president of France. I'm little Napoleon. I'm Jupiter. I decide. I decide, and my decision is Ukraine must win, Putin must lose. I decide. Candace, leave me alone. Leave me alone, Candace. I decide. I'm the decider. He said France does not intend to take the lead in escalating the conflict in Ukraine. Yep, he's talking all of this smack throughout the entire interview. He's talking all of this smack about what he's going to do to Russia, and France has no red lines, and he's the decider. And then he says, yeah, but we're not going to take the lead. We're not going to take any lead here. We'll wait for the United States to take the lead, and then we'll just, follow right behind them, right behind the United States. Oh boy, he said if the situation should deteriorate, and we would be ready to make sure that Russia never wins that war. If the situation should deteriorate, we would be ready to make sure that Russia never wins that war. Yeah, how are you going to do that, Macron? How exactly are you going to do that? And he said if Russia wins the war, Europe's credibility will be reduced to zero. Yeah, a little too late for that. I think Europe's credibility is way below zero. I think it's in negative numbers. France's credibility is in negative numbers because of the policy, the foreign policy from Emmanuel Macron with regards to Project Ukraine. That was not a very confident. If you're pro Project Ukraine, pro France, pro Project Ukraine, pro globalist, that was not a very encouraging 30 minutes from Emmanuel Macron. After listening to Macron speak, the takeaway is crystal clear. Russia has won. The collective West has lost. France has zero plan. Macron has a zero plan how to fix this mess. Zero plan. He's waiting for the United States to get involved. He's hoping for some sort of regime change in Russia. He has no clue what to do. Maybe he'll send troops to Odessa. Maybe I'll send troops to Odessa. If Russia keeps on winning, that's what he said. If Russia keeps on winning, then we'll send troops to Odessa. But we're not going to lead the way. We'll send troops to Odessa, but someone has to go first, and then we'll follow. And strategic ambiguity and an existential threat to France. No one's buying it. No one's buying it. I would take a guess and say that the French people did not buy any of what Macron was dishing out yesterday evening. And if you are buying it, well then, I've got a very big bridge to sell you in Cyprus. So give me a call and I'll sell you that bridge if you're buying what Macron was saying yesterday. This was a pathetic interview speech, whatever you want to call it. I wasn't even expecting this from Macron. I was not expecting this type of presentation, this type of show from Macron. I was thinking maybe he's going to announce that troops are already in Ukraine, or troops are on the way to Ukraine. Maybe he's not going to announce anything. He's just going to talk about the bilateral security deal that France has with Ukraine. Maybe he's going to go full crazy and announce that France is going to fight Russia. But I never expected this type of wishy-washy, flip-flopping, panicky type of display from Macron. I did not expect this, but it was well worth it. It was absolutely well worth it. So Le Monde, the French publication Le Monde, they put out an article a couple of hours before the TV interview with Macron, where they claimed that Macron and his inner circle of policy leaders, they were discussing sending troops to Odessa, going all the way back to last year, pretty much to 2023. They've been discussing putting French troops in Odessa. By the way, before I get into this story, who advised Macron? Who is advising Macron to say these things, to give these interviews? Even if Macron is panicking, even if he's worried and he's nervous about everything that's going on, who's his media team that is advising him to come out with these statements and to try these distractions and to come off like a panicky little child in front of the entire world? I wonder who's consulting Macron when it comes to these types of interviews and statements. Anyway, Le Monde, they said that in any case, in the coming year, this is the French Macron insiders talking about troops in Odessa. In any case, in the coming year, I will have to send some guys to Odessa, Macron said on the night of February 21st at the Elysee Palace, holding a glass of whiskey in his hand. 5 days later, he spoke publicly about the possibility of sending troops. Nothing can be ruled out in terms of dynamics, Macron answered the corresponding question without hesitation. According to Le Monde, the French authorities have been considering the possibility of sending troops to Ukraine since at least June 2023, when the issue was raised at the meeting of the French National Defense and Security Council. Yeah, right about the time of the great spring, summer, winter, spring, summer, super duper counteroffensive. And Macron said during the interview, he said that the counteroffensive was a complete failure. He said it was an absolute complete failure. He said that the situation is very difficult in Ukraine. He said that Russia has a better military, a stronger military, more men, more weapons, more everything. That's what he said during the interview. But Russia must not win. Russia cannot win. Who are you trying to convince, Macron? Who are you trying to sell this to? Anyway, Le Monde put this article out there right before the TV interview, a couple of hours before the TV interview. So yeah, they've had Odessa on their minds for a while now, it seems, or at least that's the impression that they want to give off the Macron administration. So the Russian Ministry of Defense yesterday, right before Macron's interview, they put out the mercenary casualty numbers. The Russian Defense Ministry has released an update on the number of foreign mercenaries killed fighting for Ukraine since February 2022. At least 13,387 foreign mercenaries have traveled to Ukraine to fight for Kiev, according to the figures released by the ministry, with some 5,962 of these confirmed killed. And you know what? Let me give you the top countries when it comes to the mercenary list that the Russian Ministry of Defense put out. Number one on the list is Poland. They had the largest number of mercenaries with 2,960, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. More than half of these, some 1,497 Polish nationals, have been killed during the hostilities. Number 2 is the United States. Kiev's main sponsor and donor of military aid has provided some 1,113 mercenaries. At least 491 of these have been killed, according to the Russian military estimates. Once again, these are estimates, numbers from the Russian Ministry of Defense. I imagine these are going to be refuted by Poland, the United States, France, the UK, Georgia, etc., Canada, etc. Third on the list is Georgia, which has provided some 1,042 mercenaries, at least 561 of whom have been killed. And Georgia is followed by Canada, which has provided 1,005 identified mercenaries, at least 491 of whom have died. The UK, Romania, Croatia, and France have also contributed significant numbers of mercenaries. Despite Paris declaring support for Kiev, only some 356 French nationals have opted to fight for it, with around 147 of these getting killed, according to Russian estimates. French mercenaries are believed to have sustained heavy casualties in mid-January when a temporary assembly point of foreign fighters was hit by a Russian high-precision strike in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkov. The attack killed more than 60 fighters, predominantly French nationals, the Russian military said at the time. Yeah. That happened recently. So even though France is down on the list with regards to foreign mercenaries in Ukraine, or at least foreign mercenaries that have been killed in Ukraine, France suffered big losses recently in Kharkov. And that may be one of many reasons for Macron's craziness, for his anger. One of many reasons for why Macron is saying and doing the things he is saying and doing. But since we're talking about Kharkov, the Ukraine military, using foreign mercenaries, with the help of foreign mercenaries, they continue to try and invade Russia through the north, through the Kharkov region. They're trying to invade Belgorod and Kursk before the Russian elections, or now during the Russian elections. The Russian elections have started. So Ukraine is continuing to try and send forces into Belgorod, into Kursk, in order to somehow deliver a defeat to Putin during the Russian presidential elections. But what this is going to do is going to have the opposite effect of what Zelensky is hoping for, in that it looks like, there is a lot of talk and a lot of analysis, it looks like Russia could be preparing a big move to create a buffer zone in the north of Ukraine, in the south, a buffer zone for Belgorod and Kursk. And this would mean that the Russian military would just gobble up large swaths of territory in the Kharkov region on the border with Ukraine, in order to create a very big and a very safe buffer zone. Very much along the lines of what Dmitry Medvedev said a few months back when he was talking about the Kharkov region, and Medvedev hinted at the Russian military, if attacks continue towards Belgorod and towards Kursk. Medvedev said that Russia will just have to create a big demilitarized buffer zone. And there is now very credible, renewed talks and discussion that the Russian military may just do that because of the antics from the Zelensky regime over the last couple of days by trying to invade Belgorod and Kursk. And a lot of the talk is that Zelensky wanted to invade these areas so he can get to a nuclear power plant and do some stuff around the nuclear power plant, some false flags or some stuff like that. But this is going to have the reverse effect of what Zelensky was hoping for. Don't be surprised if the Russian military over the next few months decides to create this buffer zone for Belgorod and for Kursk. Stoltenberg gave a speech yesterday, and he admitted that the missiles used in the Black Sea are West NATO missiles. He was happy about that. He was gloating about the fact that the missiles being used to attack Russian ships and to attack Crimea are NATO missiles. That's why I love Stoltenberg. That's why I love Stoltenberg, because he's the type of guy that just has just a big mouth, man. You know, he's just not very bright, not a very smart person. And he doesn't realize that he's revealing stuff that he shouldn't probably be revealing. But that's Stoltenberg for you, you know. He just came out yesterday and said, yeah, NATO missiles, collective West military, we're helping Ukraine hit ships in the Black Sea and hit targets in Crimea. And everyone's like, Stoltenberg, what are you saying, man? Strategic ambiguity. Where's your strategic ambiguity, Stoltenberg? He just comes out and says it, you know, and he doesn't realize what he's doing. He doesn't realize that he's giving the game away. He has no clue. That's why Stoltenberg is great as the NATO chief, because his mouth is just, oh my God. He's got a really, really big mouth, Stoltenberg. He would make a terrible spy. Stoltenberg would make the worst spy in the world. Oh, boy. There was news yesterday that Yemen has tested their first hypersonic missile. Since we're talking about using missiles to hit ships, the news came out that Yemen, the Houthis, they have successfully tested a hypersonic missile. I believe the Pentagon, they came out with a statement saying that they don't have any information pointing to this, that Yemen or the Houthis do indeed have a hypersonic missile, but the speculation is that perhaps Iran has provided Yemen with this hypersonic missile tech. But if that is indeed the case, then things are about to get very, very crazy in the Red Sea. And Schumer, how about Chucky Schumer? Boy, did he go crazy on Netanyahu yesterday. He really, really stuck it to, let's go this way. He really stuck it to Netanyahu yesterday, Schumer. What is going on here? Schumer wants Netanyahu gone. He wants Netanyahu gone. And he called for new elections in Israel and sharply criticized Netanyahu. This is all about the U.S. elections. Schumer is panicking. He is panicking because of the blowback that Biden is receiving from the Muslim community in the United States, a community that has supported Joe Biden in Michigan and Minnesota, and they voted uncommitted for Joe Biden during the primaries, a protest vote, a message being sent to the Democrats that if Biden continues to allow Israel to do what it's doing in Gaza, to continue to wage this war in Gaza, then Biden is in big trouble in Minnesota and especially in Michigan, which is a critical state for the Democrats. And Schumer is panicking. And so he came out yesterday and he said, Netanyahu must go. Netanyahu must go, said Chuck Schumer. As a lifelong supporter of Israel, it has become clear to me the Netanyahu coalition no longer fits the needs of Israel after October 7th. The world has changed radically since then, and the Israeli people are being stifled right now by a governing vision that is stuck in the past. 5 months into this conflict, it is clear that Israelis need to take stock of the situation and ask, must we change course? At this critical juncture, I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel. at a time when so many Israelis have lost their confidence in the vision and direction of their government. My God. Chuck Schumer is calling for regime change in Israel. Oh, the world is going crazy, man. Chuck Schumer is calling for regime change in Israel. And you know what Netanyahu is going to tell Chuck Schumer and the Biden administration? Buzz off. They're going to say, buzz off. You guys gave us a blank check to do whatever we want, and we're going to do whatever we want because you, Biden and Schumer and the Democrats, you guys gave us this power. So you can't take it back now. Oh boy, the Biden administration, the Democrats, they're really in a big mess with their policy in Israel. They are really in a big mess, and they're starting to panic because they saw the voting trends in key swing states. They are starting to panic, and they're trying to throw Netanyahu under the bus now. It's all Netanyahu's fault. Yes, but you guys gave Netanyahu that power. You guys gave him all of that power, and Netanyahu is now using all of that power. So that is Chuck Schumer calling for regime change in Israel. And let's now do a couple of clown worlds, and we will wrap this video up. Yeah, let's wrap this thing up. So, Jungle Josep Borrell, he sounded off on the Pope's Ukraine should negotiate white flag statement. And Jungle Josep, he said, now I'm not making this up, this is what Jungle Josep, the garden, the jungle, Josep Borrell, the foreign minister of the European Union, Jungle Josep Garden Borrell, this is what he said about the Pope's white flag Ukraine statement. And I quote, "The Holy Pope entered a garden where no one invited him, but calling on Ukraine to surrender is more than a wish for peace." This is what Borrell told the Spanish public radio RNE on Thursday. Borrell went on to state that he believes that now is not the moment when it is necessary to offer Ukraine to surrender. On the contrary, this is the moment when we need to continue to help. Now, what is it with Borrell and gardens and jungles and stuff? What is it, Borrell, with your fascination about gardens and jungles? When Borrell retires, is he going to be like a gardener or something? Is he's got like a gardening habit or something along those lines? I don't know. But yeah, the Pope, the Pope entered a garden where no one invited him. Oh, man. Borrell sees the world in jungles and gardens. And in this instance, the Pope entered the garden and no one invited the Pope. Pope, what are you doing in my garden? I didn't invite you in this garden, Pope. What are you doing here? Go back to the jungle. Who told you to come to my garden? Go back to the jungle. You're not invited in Borrell's garden. Oh, boy. And in Germany, here's an interesting story. In Germany, a 16-year-old girl posted a video on TikTok comparing the popularity of the AfD party to the Smurfs. To the Smurfs, everybody. Those lovable blue Smurfs, Papa Smurf, and I forgot the other Smurfs. Papa Smurf and who else? Anyway, I forgot all the Smurfs. But yeah, this 16-year-old girl posted a TikTok video comparing the AfD to the Smurfs. And what happened in Germany, 3 police officers visited her in school because of suspected state security related content, and they held an educational talk with her. The West is collapsing. The West is absolutely collapsing. Germany collapsing. France under Macron collapsing. Oh boy. You can't even put up a video on TikTok about the Smurfs. Well, you can't compare the Smurfs to the AfD You're not allowed to do that. If you do that, then the police are knocking on your door. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and Twitter X. And go to the Duran shop. Pick up some limited merchandise for St. Patrick's Day, or pick up a bomber jacket, or maybe a long sleeve t-shirt. Take care.